It's Mark here, and today I am going to show you how to build a virtual reality scene on the STEEM blockchain. So to start, we need to be at dlux.io and click the hamburger button and then click create. And that's going to drop you off at the dlux.io GitHub wiki, where we've documented most of what you can do out of the box with this technology, as well as the blockchain infrastructure that's behind it. What we're interested in here today is this Remix the VR Builder link. This is a glitch link that you can click. And what's happening right now is it's remixing the dlux VR boilerplate project and creating a fresh starting point for me. So you can see here my project is Ruby Olive, and this is now my own project. We'd recommend creating a glitch account. You can sign in with Facebook or GitHub, and that will allow you to save and track all your projects. So you see here in this README, the first step is to remix. That's already done simply by us following that remix link. We've already remixed the project, and you can see that is Ruby Olive here. Next step is to protect our project. So we need to click this key.env and enter in a password inside of quotation marks. So I'm just going to set that to secret. Okay. And then head back over to the README. Now, step 3, the third and final step to getting started, is to click the Show Live button. So there we go. We are now at rubyolive.glitch.me. This prompt is asking for microphone permissions. That's simply to turn on the networked features that are built in here. So if I said allow, that would it would turn this room into a VR chat room out of the box. Once I click in to give the window focus, the mouse allows me to look around the scene and control my player's gaze, while the arrow keys or WASD keys on a keyboard will let me move the player around. Now, with this same URL, this rubyolive.glitch.me, that same URL I could enter into my smartphone and see in the web browser, or I could enter it into a VR headset and also test there with teleport controls. So this project is live. There's no compiling. It's constantly updated and ready to go. So the way you start modifying this project is you click Control-Alt-I on a Mac or a PC. On a Mac, it's also listed as option. That is Control-Alt-I for the inspector. Now, once the inspector loads up, we can start to visually edit our scene. So the first thing we need to do is enter in that password that we set, because the glitch inspector is not protected, the A-frame inspector is not protected by your glitch account. It's got raw access to editing that glitch data. So we're going to put in our password, which was secret, and click OK. Now we should be able to make and save changes in here. So let's select the environment, and let's change it from this preset of Egypt into something a little bit more funky. Let's see. Let's try dream. All right. So you've got mushrooms and this pink landscape, and that's a little player menu that's popping up there. That appears anytime the player looks down, and it's a mouse over action that's triggering that. All right, that's looking cool. Let's click save on that, this little save icon. And because we put in our password, that should have saved over into glitch. But let's find out. Let's click the Deluxe Builder, which pipes you back over to your project name.glitch.me/build.html. Again, you don't need to allow your microphone for now. And you can see that you're now in a side-by-side view where you have A-frame on one side, and look at that, our scene did update. It's got that new dream preset to it. And then on the left-hand side, you've got your glitch view, which has the README and all the different files you can modify in here. Now, all of your HTML for your scene is going to live on post.html, but you do not need to touch it at all. You can do this without any code required whatsoever. So the next thing we want to do is add a model to our scene. So if you look up here, we have a button to add 3D models, but it's the same type of deal. This lives outside of glitch. So once again, you need to add in that password, secret. Great. Now these buttons will actually do things. And then if you look at this drop down, in addition to the password, we also have a clean get, which tends to clean up any errors. Get is the protocol that moves things from what you do in the A-frame inspector back into glitch, and sometimes it can get a little messy. So this clean get button just tends to fix those types of little errors. We also have links to tutorials, our chat server on Discord, that wiki that you saw initially, and our Steam blog. So let's go into add model, and we're gonna get a little drag and drop thing here. So I've got a couple of Steam monsters here, courtesy of Flora Francis. These were made in Blender and exported as, I believe, OBJ, and then converted to GLB through an online converter. This drag and drop area also will accept full GLTF files, which is a .gltf, a .bin, and any texture files either in PNG or JPEG. But these are already in the GLB format, which is everything combined into one, the B meaning binary. So I'm going to drag and drop that in, and let me open up my logs here by clicking Tools, Logs. And we can see that that came in. So what's going on here? There's this convert PNG to JPEG. That's pretty self-explanatory, and it exists because JPEGs tend to be smaller file sizes. So try to only use PNG for your textures if you need the transparency, and try to keep your models to around 3 megabytes or less. This convert KHR materials, that has to do with how your model is rendered. This request to pin assets upon post, that's important because these files aren't being uploaded to any sort of centralized server. Instead, they are being distributed through IPFS, which is the Interplanetary File System, which works a lot like BitTorrent, in that your file needs to be seeded and users need to download it or view it, and which downloads it, in order for it to remain in existence. So to prevent it from being garbage collected and removed in the case that it doesn't go viral or people don't view it initially, we pin up to 100 megabytes per post for 6 months with this checkbox. So that's an important checkbox. These last two, they're dealing with what's called a navigation mesh, which is how you control where players can and cannot go. All you really need to understand about it right now is that clicking or having this set to static body, any model with this enabled will be included in that nav mesh. So anything that's not going to move, think of it like buildings, like scenery, like statues, whatever isn't going to move that a player should not be able to pass through, that should be a static body. And then if you build your nav mesh outside of this and you just want to drag and drop your nav mesh in, then this last checkbox is for you. But I'm going to show you how to build a nav mesh inside of here. So first, just what the heck am I talking about? Well, let's refresh the app. All right. And back up a little bit. And there's our Ulrich model. Great. Looking good. But I can walk right through him. And that's no good. We do not want that. And I'm not going to animate this model or anything, so there's really no reason not to treat it as a static model. Now, if this player was going to be moving around the scene, that would be different, but it's not. It's just there, it's static, and I don't want to be able to walk through it. So that's where the nav mesh comes in. Before we do that, let's add one more model just so I can show you positioning. So let's grab this goblin and we'll do the same thing. We'll drag and drop it in. It's a static body as well. All right, there it is. Refresh the app. And yep, sure enough, we got the goblin in there. Now they've both come in at the origin point, so I'm going to show you how to move those. Because I'm on a laptop and the side-by-side isn't the greatest on a small screen when you're trying to work visually, I'm going to flip back over into this original tab and click refresh so that it grabs our models. So now I'm in a full screen view again. Same thing, Control-Alt-I to open up the inspector. And now that I'm in the inspector, I can once again fly around and I can see I have these two entities over here. So I'm going to grab the first entity and I'm going to move it via these handles that appear. And the behavior of these handles is controlled by these buttons up here. So you have this translate option, which just means move. You have a rotate option. So if I select that, I can grab and rotate on one of the axes. And then I will grab my goblin and I'll rotate him towards Ulrich. All right. This goblin is looking way too big, so let's click the scale button. And I'm just going to grab the origin cube and I'm going to drag down. That looks a little better. And then the translate option to sort of place him up and closer to Ulrich. So again, flying around in 3D space. You can also grab the plane and move it on a certain plane, not just on axes. Slow. That's getting, you know, somewhere that we like. Maybe we want to face Ulrich a little bit more towards him. All right, something like that. And then let's click save. And clicking back over into our log view, we can see quite a few position, rotation, and scale changes just came through. I always like to sort of double check my work. So it looks like the goblin didn't quite rotate the way we wanted. I'm going to click back over, click refresh one more time, see where it's at, and see if I can make a change that it likes. I'm going to say don't allow there. Open up the inspector again. Select our goblin and rotate. Sure. Click save again. Right, looks like maybe it took that time. Give it another refresh here. And yeah, that looks like the correct position of the goblin. So now we need to fix the fact that we can walk through these models. So that's the last thing we'll do here. If you look down at the bottom, you've got this plugin nav mesh builder. Now there's some options here that let you control different things, but what we're most concerned with is this selector. it's set to dot static. The dot or the period means this is a class, and static is the class we're looking for. So when we uploaded these models, we said these are static models, which set the class on the models to static. So these models are set to static, and the environment is set to static. Now when I click build, this NavMesh plugin is analyzing the scene, all of the things with the class static, and it's generating a mesh of where it thinks a player should be able to walk. So because we don't want to be able to walk through Ulrich or the Goblin, the player cannot walk through those areas, which is why you see holes in the nav mesh that will prevent the player from moving there. Also, the player is prevented from moving over some of this rough terrain. Now we could change our environment here from hills to something flat, but I'm okay with this. And also you could play with things like the max slope or the max climb to see if you could generate a mesh that looks more in line with where you want a player to be able to walk. And we'll definitely cover this in more detail later. So that's good enough for now. I'm going to click save. That flash of light tells me that it saved something. Back over here in our logs, it looks like it did indeed do something. This tends to take a while just by virtue of IPFS being slow, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to click refresh, and we'll kind of let that chug along while it finds that mesh again in IPFS. So in the meantime, let's click over to our description. This is going to be for our STEEM description. And for STEEM, you need a username logged into the STEEM keychain. So STEEM keychain is a browser extension available for Firefox and Chrome. And you log in there, and that gives you access to this. So all I need to do, because I'm logged into STEEM keychain, is type in my username. I can give this post a permalink, such as dlux VR tutorial SM test. I can also give this a blog title, testing dlux VR builder with STEEM monsters. And then enter in a description such as, this post was done for a video tutorial and includes the first 2 STEEM monster 3D models coming to dlux SM virtual reality world. And then just give it some tags such as, those look good, STEEM VR STEEM monsters SM. Alright, now if you scroll down, you see this custom JSON box. Hash 360, that's a standard 360 image that I'm going to show you how to replace here in a second. This hash is for your whole project, essentially, and the project size. Pinning is set to true, that's important. Next, you're going to see Ulrich and his hash. Then you'll see the Goblin and his hash. Finally, there's our nav mesh that we created and its hash. Alright, looks great. Let's click save on that. Let's see where this is at. Alright, so this loaded up again. Now, with any luck, I will not be able to walk through the models. And look at that. I can no longer walk through. I am now constrained to the nav mesh. So that's exactly what we wanted. Goblin, same thing. I can't walk through them at all. And again, if you open up the inspector with Control-Alt-I, you'll be able to see a new entity that is not visible, but you can click the eye to make it visible. And there it is, the nav mesh that we created and saved. Now you can always create a new nav mesh down here and click save to overwrite your previous nav mesh, but your scene can only have one. So it might take some experimentation to get the right nav mesh that you're looking for, but that's how you do it. And that is now a working scene. So the next thing I need to do is take photos of our scene. So I'm going to refresh this one more time just so I'm starting from a clean spot. And these are going to be the photo for your blog and also the 360 portal image that will exist inside the dlux VR lobby so that other users will know which room they're about to walk into. So let's kind of move the camera into something that we want to take a photo of. That looks pretty cool. So we're going to click Control Alt S to take that photo. Control Alt S. And there it is. Here's our photo. Let's save it. Okay. And then we need to take one more photo with Shift Control Alt S. And that's going to take a 360-degree photo. So there it is. Click OK. And you can see I attempted to do those earlier, but there is right there our normal and our 360 photo. So we're going to head back over into our dlux builder page at build.html and click Add Photos. Now here, the image uploader supports multiple photos at once, so you can drag and drop in as many photos as you need to at a time. Just make sure you're not confusing or not doing 360 and regular photos at the same time. There is a flag that needs to be set if you're uploading 360 photos. And then there's another flag for adding them into your scene. So if this is a photo that's actually going to go into your scene, such as a 360 sky or a photo hanging on your wall, then you want new entities to be added. So that will actually create a geometry such as a box that your photo goes on top of so that you can move that box onto your wall, scale it, stretch it, do whatever you need to do with it. And again, the same thing to request to pin the assets upon publishing. So we don't want to add these to our scene. I'm going to uncheck that. We just want to add these to our blog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop in the regular image. And let's scroll down our logs here. All right. And then I'm going to check the 360 image flag. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag and drop in the 360 photo. All right. So now we can see the hash 5K4B. That's our 360. If I click over into the description, oh well, some things are still happening. Let's click over into the description and see. 5K4B. There is our 360 photo, which is now set as our 360 preview image. And just so you know, there's no real manual way to set this yet. This is going to be whatever the last 360 photo you dropped in was. If you drag and drop in a bunch of 360 photos all at once, it will be the first in that series. So if that makes sense. The first in a series of photos or the last single photo that you uploaded. And then you can see here our regular photo was inserted right into our blog. If I hit preview, sometimes it shows, there it is. So obviously it's large and not correctly sized in here, but whatever front end is displaying it should be able to manage. All right, so we have a VR scene. We have our STEAM description in here. And let's click save one more time. I think we are ready to publish. So it is asking, would you actually like to do this? And yeah, I think I would. Transaction has been broadcast successfully. All right. Look at that. Testing Deluxe VR Builder with Steam monsters.